Hello, everyone, and welcome to be specific, to the It's Always Sunny in Hollywood podcast, where it's always a jolly holiday here. I am one of your hosts, Patrick.
I'm your co-host, Red.
And I'm the co-host Lugia.
Yes, like I said, always a jolly holiday with us. And if you couldn't catch my reference, we're talking about Mary Poppins today.
Yes.
I assume you guys expected me to reference one of the more popular songs for the intro.
I was
Yeah.
actually,
Nah, went for Fidelity Fiduciary Bank, cause why not?
Yeah. I feel like spoonful of sugar and like chin chinnery. Those are two.
no, I
I
I
think
think
guess
Yeah.
supercalifragilisticexpialidocious is the most popular one, yeah.
you know what, that's fair because that's that and chin chinnery. Those are like the two I knew before I saw them. No, actually, but I also knew spoonful of sugar. Those are the top three. That one bird song though.
Feed the birds.
That was a good one. I didn't know that one before I saw the movie.
I forgot that
Well,
one existed, yeah.
well, speaking of musical numbers, let's talk about Broadway for a second.
Yes.
Broadway's Court Theater was recently renamed after James Earl Jones. That's quite a high honor.
So it's just the James Earl Jones Theater now?
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Yes.
Yeah. This is looking over the list of shows that have played there. I recognize none of them except for one, Bright Star.
Mm.
That's a that's a really good show.
I know James Earl Jones. He's pretty significant on Broadway. I feel like most people know him, for his
Darth Vader and
Darth
Mufasa.
Vader. Yeah, Darth Vader, Mufasa, and
This is CNN.
he also played Eddie Murphy's dad in Coming to America, which that's like my favorite Eddie Murphy movie. So I'm just gonna mention that.
He does a lot
Yeah.
of voice work.
He
So
still plays Darth Vader. Like he anytime they need Darth Vader, they still get him. So I don't know what
hmm.
they're gonna do. Like once he can't do it anymore. But yeah,
Point is, congratulations, Mr. James Earl Jones, for being
yes,
immortalized on
congratulations.
Broadway. Yes. Moving away from Broadway, but still in the realm of entertainment, Sonic the Hedgehog 2. I'm sure we all remember when the first Sonic movie, the trailer came out, massive outcry, so they changed it.
Mm-hmm.
Similar thing happened, less intense though. When they unveiled the new Sonic 2 poster, there was an outcry over the fact that the voice actress for Tails, Colleen O'Shaughnessy, am I saying that right?
I think
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, there was controversy that her name wasn't on the poster.
Mm.
So they decided, okay, we'll put the name on. It's a
You know,
small
Was it a
thing, but
mistake, or...
I don't.
see, they usually only put posters of like advertisable people on the.
Yeah, like
So I guess they figured that a
I
voice
mean,
actor isn't.
obviously Jim Carrey would be on there, because he's
yeah,
fucking
Yeah,
but I
Jim
mean,
Carrey.
and Idris Elba.
unfortunately, yeah, unfortunately, movie posters don't really credit like lesser known people, like actual like voice actor people.
Yeah,
They don't
like the
typically.
the only voice
It's
actor I think I've ever seen on a poster was Mel Blanc.
yeah, it's an unfortunate thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know when Space Jam 2 came out, they didn't credit the voice actors. They only credited like Zendaya because,
Yeah,
he's marketable. That's
I think
just it's just unfortunately how the industry works.
yeah, I think I saw Clancy Brown like credited once for some other thing, but Clancy Brown also does a lot of live action stuff. So in that the roles I've seen him credited, it was because it was live action.
Makes me wonder though, when the third Sonic movie comes out, what do you think there's going to be outcry over?
I don't know. Part of me
Knuckles
thinks
is
that
too
like
damn sexy.
nah. Part of me thinks that Tails is the only voice actor that they're gonna have because of and I think the only reason that they didn't cast a celebrity as Tails was because they already had Tails in the after credit scene. So like I feel like every other Sonic character is going to be played by a celebrity, so I feel like some people might have issue with that.
I don't know who would you cast? What major celebrity would you cast as a Sonic character?
Gerard Way as Shadow the Hedgehog.
Part of me always thought that who I think would make a good Amy.
Ooh.
If I had to choose a celebrity, I'd actually go with Jenny Slate.
That's fair.
I can
Especially
kinda
'cause
see
she
it.
plays
Yeah,
opposite.
I think that would really work.
Yeah, plus she plays opposite of Ben Platt a lot. Is it? No, it's not Ben Platt.
Ben Platt is Evan Hansen.
Yeah, sorry, Ben. Who's the guy who plays Sonic?
Ben
Ben
Schwartz.
Schwartz.
Ben Schwartz. Yeah, Jenny Slate and Ben Schwartz. They act together a lot.
Oh, then it's a match made in heaven. That's gonna be the outcry. If it's not Jenny Slate playing Amy in Sonic 3,
Yeah.
that's gonna be the outcry.
For some reason, in my head, I always thought Anna Kendrick would play a decent Amy.
I
'Cause
feel
I'm-
like this.
I'm-
I feel like this could be take up its whole home video.
We
its
could
own
make
video.
a podcast about Sonic the Hedgehog himself. We
could.
really could.
It's always sunny in Green Hill Zone.
Yes. Every episode, we talk about like what's one level of the game. All right.
Can't wait for
okay.
episode 4 on Labyrinth Zone.
Well, while we're on other colorful fuzzy characters, Disney has remembered the Muppets existed again, so we're getting a new Muppet show about the Electric Mayhem. The Electric Mayhem's the band, in case any viewers at home
I was
forgot.
just gonna ask.
Okay.
It's
I'm
animal.
not deep in Muppets lore.
Yeah, Electric Mayhem is Animal and the rest of the band. Animal is probably the most well-known member of the band, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I've actually been rewatching ABC's Muppets show, and it's still funny. Like a lot of people, the ABC Muppet Show holds up. Like people didn't like it when it first came out, but to me, it's kind of like the Looney Tunes show, but for the Muppets, where like it's actually a really good show. People just kind of thrown off by how different it was at first. But yeah, the ABC Muppet Show, highly recommend that. I'd say that's like the best Muppets thing to come out since the 2011 movie. Have you seen Muppets Now? That's like the last Disney thing they did.
I have not.
It's okay. Anyway,
Actually, I got one more news story for you. This is spontaneous, but I felt like it was worth mentioning. Nintendo recently made an announcement. This is actually a very interesting announcement because it's regarding the Wii.
Really?
Yes, apparently, hold up, let me pull up the article here. Yes, according to President Doug Bowser, he's quoted saying, "Due to changing standards in the gaming industry and better hardware being available, we think it's best if every single Wii that is still in perfect working condition just burst into flames one day next year." Nintendo is going to blow up Wiis now.
Oh, that's fun. It's a good thing I already sold my Wii.
Obviously, this is a joke article. It's a joke article talking about how all Wiis will self-destruct in 2020.
That's not from Hard Drive, is it?
Yes, it is.
Of course it is.
yeah.
Here's the thing. I initially wasn't going to talk about this, but I kept seeing it whenever I used Google. So I'm just like, whatever, I'll mention it just because it's kind of funny.
Okay, I thought you were talking about like the other whatchamacallit, the other Nintendo news. Because
Nintendo news.
Well, they just announced like an hour ago that they're delaying Advance Wars 1 and 2 reboot. They're going to be delaying it because of it was supposed to come out in April, and then they figured we don't want to release a war game currently because
Yeah,
That's fair.
Good idea.
like even though it's like really cartoony and stuff, they're like, I'm not sure if that's appropriate.
Yeah, speaking of current world events, I recently watched. I got my parents to watch Encanto last night. They really enjoyed it, but during that whole scene where the grandmother and the grandfather are being forced out of their homes, they were like, "Oh, this hits too close. This is too rough."
That's just a case of unfortunate timing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still, though, they really liked it.
Yeah.
And that makes me happy.
I think Bruno, that finally hit number 1, right?
We talked
On the
about
charts?
we did.
Yeah.
No, we don't talk about it.
Yes.
Actually, while we were watching the movie, after the opening number, my mom asked, "Why don't they talk about Bruno?" And I just said, "Oh, you'll see." And I was laughing to myself because she has no idea how big that song is. So on with the show.
Yes, on with the show.
All right.
So
what?
No, go on.
That's right. Sherry Bobbins, released in 1964, was directed by Robert Stevenson, who also directed some of Disney's earliest live-action films, actually,
Yes,
including Johnny Tremaine, Old Yeller, The Absent-Minded Professor, the first 2 Herbie movies, Bedknobs and Broomsticks, and The Shaggy D.A.
Hey. He also directed Darby O'Gill and the Little People.
That one too. It's based on the book series of the same name by P.L. Travers, and we're not really going to go into the production history because that's what Saving Mr. Banks is for, so we'll get back to that.
Yes.
But to skip all the way to when it released, received universal acclaim and got 13 Oscar nominations, and it won 5. Best Actress for Julie Andrews, Best Film Editing, Best Score, Best Original Song for Chim Chimery, and Best Visual Effects. And it's also worth noting, this is the only film Walt made in his lifetime to get a Best Picture nomination, though it lost that to My Fair Lady. And I find this interesting because My Fair Lady is based on a Broadway show where Julie Andrews originated the role of Eliza Doolittle, but in the movie, she's not in the My Fair Lady movie. So she lost a Julie Andrews starring movie, lost Best Picture to a movie based on a play starring Julie Andrews.
Yeah.
And the following year, The Sound of Music starring Julie Andrews would win Best Picture. I just find that interesting.
Yeah.
Actually, the 1960s was like the decade for movie musicals.
Oh yeah, and that's
Yeah.
Like every freaking Broadway show got a film adaptation.
the Broadway musical, that was the blockbuster of the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
Much like how noir and westerns were the blockbusters of like before. Also James Bond movies, I guess that and Hitchcock. So like Hitchcock and Broadway. That's what the people wanted.
Yeah. The 60s were quite a time.
Yes.
For a multitude of reasons.
So this was Julie Andrews' film debut, right?
I believe so, yes.
It's a good first impression.
I couldn't tell like at first because like she acts with like a lot of experience. I mean, granted, she did have a lot of experience, but like, you know, stage acting and film acting are very different.
Yes, this is also the second film appearance of our good friend Dick Van Dyke, and the second installment in the unofficial Dick Van Dyke trilogy, as we call it. Yes. We already talked about Bye Bye Birdie, which we enjoyed immensely, so let's get into Mary Poppins. And for a brief plot synopsis, there's this dysfunctional Banks family in London, so a magical nanny named Mary Poppins comes in to try to help the family.
By the way, the family's names is the Banks. The dad does work at a bank, but that's just like a funny coincidence.
I think based on that name, he just kind of felt obligated.
Yeah, there's actually this syndrome like called
kind of like if your last name is Farmer and
yes, it's called nominative determinism, where you basically gravitate towards an area of work that fits your name.
Let me ask you guys a question. Will Smith?
Yes, Will Smith.
Yeah. Like Usain Bolt. You know, his last name is Bolt, and he's the fastest man alive. That's kind of funny.
Anyway, let's get into Jerry Bobbins.
All right, so I guess I'll just give my brief thoughts. This is one of the greatest movies of all time. That's my brief thoughts. How about you?
I'm gonna be honest with you guys. This movie is delightful.
Absolutely.
It was good. I'm not.
All right.
I don't think highly of it as you guys do, but I still enjoyed my time with it.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
You know I'm not a musical guy, all right?
I know, but
I mean, you're more of a musical guy than me.
Dude, I've met people who don't like anything, and they're still like, "Oh, I love Mary Poppins."
Am I just that cynical?
It's possible. I don't know.
No, for some reason, Mary Poppins to me, I always associate with Christmas, even though it's not. It has nothing to do with Christmas, but in my head, it's a Christmas movie. If that makes sense, because it's just got like the vibe of Christmas, you know.
I can kind of see that.
There's a moral about family in there, yeah.
It's magical.
Well, I mean, families and everything. Otherwise, you know, the Fast and Furious movies, those would be Christmas movies. But yeah.
Who's to say they're not Christmas movies?
Yeah, the whole story is secretly about Vin Diesel becoming Santa Claus.
Eventually,
we need
car
a fast
replaces
enough
Santa's sleigh.
Yeah, we need a fast enough ride to deliver all the toys to the kids.
It's all been training this entire time.
Yeah, this is probably also my favorite Disney movie, period. And probably my favorite musical, period. Like, I love this. First time I actually saw it was like November of last year, but that movie I was blown away by how good it was, because I knew it was gonna be good, but I didn't think it was gonna be this good. Like I cannot think of a single flaw or issue I have with this movie. Maybe like some of the effects are, but the effects are still impressive. Honestly, like
I don't know. When they jump into the chalk painting, that kind of looked off. It's a
okay,
sign of the times. I get that.
Yeah, this was
yeah, but
over 50 years ago.
here's the weird thing. Have you ever seen the Grand Budapest Hotel?
No.
I've not.
All right. So Wes Anderson in that movie, he sometimes like intentionally does bad effects because like it kind of adds to the charm. That's what it almost feels here though. Like I know the effects weren't intentionally bad, but like the bad effects kind of like fit at the same time, so it doesn't bother me. I don't know. The animation was good.
Oh yeah, this movie is partly animated, despite being live action.
For like 25 minutes.
Yeah, because of it was just not humanly possible at the time to do some of that stuff with practical effects.
You can't train penguins to dance.
Yeah, this is, I guess, like, this would be the modern day equivalent of CGI.
But I remember watching that whole animated sequence like over and over again when I was younger.
Yeah, Supercalifragilistic. That was like the one scene I had seen prior, just because as a kid, I think we sang it like in choir or something. So I googled it, obviously.
To talk about the music for a second, I think the songs like without the songs, this movie would not be as highly revered as it is.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that is definitely fair. This is the
soundtrack
music in here
absolutely slaps.
Yeah, there's not a single bad song in the movie, and I actually really like the bird song. Like, I just want to highlight that just because in most musicals, I kind of don't like the slow ballady numbers. Like in most of the classic Disney Renaissance movies, my least favorite songs is like the slower ballady songs. Like, but it hits so strong here. Like that's a great emotional beat, and when it comes back at the end, when Mr. Banks like sees and they show the shot of it like empty, and it's like that was a great scene.
I would agree with you. I do not think there is a single bad track in here. There are some songs I do like more than others, but I cannot bring myself to say that any of them are bad.
Yeah.
Like your favorite songs are my favorite songs. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, Feed the Birds, Chim Chimmery, Step in Time, all of them absolutely.
I love that sequence on the roofs, by the way. Like it looks it's I'm gonna call it like heightened artificiality where like it's a set, but it's such a good set.
Yeah, I enjoyed that scene a lot with the smoke staircase with the sunset. That was beautiful.
Yeah, the silhouette was cool. The costumes are really great in this. The costumes and sets, like that's a real highlight. Julie Andrews looks like ridiculously pretty in this. Honestly.
I mean, they wanted to make a character that's literally perfect in every way.
Practically perfect in every way.
Yeah, she does look that. So, good job, casting directors. I just bring that up because that's gonna be relevant when we talk about the next movie. But
going back to the soundtrack.
No, go on.
Is it heresy to say that I enjoyed Bye Bye Birdie's song selection more than this? I still think this was fantastic. It's just that having actual experience with Bye Bye Birdie, personally, I've grown more attached to those songs. Is that weird? Am I a bad person for saying that?
I mean, we like the songs in Bye Bye Birdie. I do like the ones here more, but like, nah, the songs in Bye Bye Birdie are good.
Thematically, these worked very well. It's just that...
Well, this is a different songwriting duo. This is the Sherman Brothers, and Bye Bye Birdie was Strauss and Adams.
Yeah, these were the classic Disney songwriters.
Yeah, so other than Dick Van Dyke, there is nobody involved in Bye Bye Birdie was involved in Mary Poppins, at least not to my knowledge.
Yeah. Acting was strong. Like usually child acting is really bad, but they worked here. The kids had their own like sort of unique personality to them.
Yeah. They were good.
Obviously, Dick Van Dyke, he did it so charming. Like he has the worst possible accent ever conceived on film, but it still works.
Yes, if that's the one thing everybody agrees. Like the one problem with Mary Poppins is just Dick Van Dyke's accent. That's it.
I feel like it works though, considering that he's supposed to be like a very goofy and comedic character.
Honestly, the accent never really bothered me. The one line I always misheard from him was when they first sit down at the Penguin restaurant, and he says "Whita," Like my entire life, I always thought he was saying whiteout.
Oh,
Like I'm like, oh, is that the penguin's name? Whiteout? But no, I
oh,
watched
No,
it
he's
again. I'm
gonna
like,
white
oh,
out the entire chalk background.
it's Waiter.
yeah.
But because of
Um,
that, if I ever get like a pet penguin somehow, I'm gonna name it Whiteout.
I really like the scenes where Mary Poppins like basically like would kind of trick Mr. Banks into thinking he came up with an idea when he didn't.
Yeah. It's
Oh,
funny.
also, the mom was a funny character. She was like more of a brief little comic relief, but it worked.
Actually, to go back to Dick Van Dyke for a second, Dick Van Dyke, I've heard in interviews with him, he was not a trained dancer by any means, but like seeing the way he moves in this movie,
He's got a
let me
great physicality to him.
absolutely like this movie really does showcase like just how physical Dick Van Dyke is, like way more than Bye Bye Birdie did, and I think like helping that is the fact that he is playing a double role because he's not only Bert, he's Mr. Dawes Senior.
Mm-hmm.
Like
I thought
he
he
is fantastic there.
wait. I thought he played Mr. Dawes Senior in Mary Poppins Returns.
He plays Mr. Dawes Jr.
Ah,
Uh, but in here he plays his dad, Mr. Dawes Sr.
yeah. He's still oh yeah, he does play Mr. Dawes. Okay, yeah. In Mary Poppins Returns, he's also he's still got it. Like I know the dude's like
He's
what,
nearing
80 now?
100. He's nearing 100,
Ooh.
Yeah.
and he is still fit as a fiddle.
Yeah, like I haven't seen Mary Poppins Returns, but I saw that one clip with Dick Van Dyke and it was like, damn, that was and still spry. Oh my god, 96. Jesus Christ. So he must have been he was still in his 90s when he filmed that. He's like
Actually,
he's like Christopher Lee.
speaking of Mr. Dawes Sr., and the whole bank sequence, the whole song about the bank and tuppence,
Yeah.
that makes me laugh for a few reasons. One is because of Dick Van Dyke. The other is the choreography, or more so the choreographed walking, because it's just them walking and nodding, and
Mhm.
that just cracks me up. And the third reason is completely unrelated to anything the movie had to do, but I saw a meme once that said, when you step into a new fandom, there's always that one person, and the caption was Dick Van Dyke saying, "The ships, tell them about the ships." So now I laugh at that whenever I watch the scene.
I think my favorite performance was actually like besides Mary was actually Mr. Banks. I feel like
He did a
especially
good
that
job. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
especially that ending scene where it's just him walking to work, preparing to get fired. That was such a good scene. Like I like how that's the emotional climax of the movie. Like relatively somber. I think like that's like a incredibly strong ending.
The ending reminded me of It's a Wonderful Life because character named George Bank
Yeah, yeah,
realizing what's important, going to his family, enjoying himself.
yeah.
Wonder
That's
what
fair.
came out first.
It's a Wonderful Life did
Okay.
by like 20 years. So, Lugia, to talk to you for a second, you're not as crazy about this movie as we are.
Correct.
What didn't click for you? Just out of curiosity.
I felt the pacing was very off. The animation segment, I liked it for about 10 minutes and then it just kind of dragged on for another 15 minutes. I'm like, "Okay, guys, we can get back to the story now." I don't know.
Well-
It just didn't jive with me.
Yeah.
That's fair.
I felt this was like one of those like episodic movies, so for me, it didn't just matter to me. That was just kind of jumping from adventure to adventure. But yeah,
yeah, I noticed that too. Like whenever like it's just Mary Poppins with the kids, like there's not really much of like a plot going on, but that didn't really bother me because like you're having such a great time with these characters that
yeah,
The
you just
laughter
enjoy being
scene
with
I
them.
think was handled very well. It's just that the animation segment kind of went on a little too long for my liking.
yeah. That's fair.
That's fine. It reminds me of something like Willy Wonka, where like whenever the title character's on screen, it's not really about the story. It's just about like what are they going to do next? What tricks do they have up their sleeve?
Yeah, I got sort of Finding Nemo vibes because that story is just sort of they just kind of run into a bunch of obstacles on their way to finding Nemo. But yeah,
Yeah, like the story is there, but like for most of the movie, it's just like about like the magic, about the imagination.
yeah.
about seeing what's going to happen next.
This movie does probably play better to a kid audience. But yeah.
I still enjoyed
Still,
it.
I'd give it like a 10 out of 10. This is one of my favorites that we've talked about so far. Granted, I've given quite a few movies we've talked about 10 out of 10s, but yeah.
I would agree with you. This movie is absolutely fantastic.
I'd give it an 8 out of 10, but don't let my opinions sour you.
No,
8
I'm
out of
not.
10 is
Don't worry.
actually pretty high. Like you
It.
you're like, man,
I'm
I
not
don't like as much
crazy
as you
about
guys,
this movie,
and
but
you gave it a great score. Like, okay, you liked it a lot. You just
I
didn't like
liked
it. As much
it. I
as
didn't.
us.
Yeah, exactly. Also, one thing that bothered me about the ending was what happened to the old guy. I forgot his name. Basically,
Mr.
his son.
Dawes
Yeah,
Sr.?
his son just says, "Hey, you killed my dad with laughter. Thanks, Mr. Banks."
Oh yeah, if you like Mary Poppins, check out Robert Stevenson's other movies. They very tonally feel the same. I'd recommend Darby O'Gill and the Little People. That's my favorite one.
Bedknobs and Broomsticks is another one he directed. That movie is very, very similar to Mary Poppins in that magical nanny. They travel
Alright.
to an animated world. Even the actor who plays Mr. Banks is the father in that one. We might give that its own dedicated episode at some point because I haven't seen that movie in years, and I just want to see
Yeah.
how it compares.
I haven't heard of it. I mean, I've
so
heard of it, but I never saw it. Cool.
we'll get to that. Other than that, I already said It's a Wonderful Life and Willy Wonka. Also, Peter Pan came to my mind because it has that imagination about
Yeah,
traveling
yeah.
to different
Yeah.
areas and seeing
Yeah,
different
instead of a
characters.
magical nanny, it's a magical boy.
Yeah. So I'd say check those out if you like Mary Poppins.
Yeah, actually, that's funny. That's a normal lady helping a magical boy instead of a magical lady helping a bunch of normal kids.
So it's a
It's like the
role
reverse.
reversal. It's a role
Yeah.
reversal. All right. Any other thoughts we want to get out before we move on?
I think we're all done when it comes to Mary Poppins.
Yeah.
All
now
right.
it's time for me to get incredibly negative.
Oh boy.
Oh boy. Okay. Saving Mr. Banks. All right. It was released in 2013 and was directed by John Lee Hancock, a man who likes directing movies strictly with "the" in the title, with the exception of
Yes.
this one. He's directed The Rookie, The Alamo, The Blind Side, The Founder, The Highwayman, and The Little Things.
I think
Just
someone
name
just told him to stop for this one.
Yeah.
maybe.
So,
The
out of
Saving
curiosity,
Mr. Banks.
have you seen any of his other movies out of curiosity?
I have not.
Nor have I.
Okay, I've seen The Founder. It's got a lot in common with this movie, so I might mention that a little later. But yeah.
Okay. So originally this movie started out as an independent film, with BBC Films providing finances, with a script by Kelly Marcel. However, the project was picked up by Disney because Marcel wanted access to certain images and music that Disney held the rights to. So Disney decided, you know what, we'll just make the movie anyway, since you need our permission. And John Lee Hancock was initially worried that Disney would sanitize the film to make Walt look like a saint. However, the only change they requested was that Walt never appear on smoking, because the company has a strict policy about showcasing smoking in films. The movie released, it earned $117.9 million against a budget of $35 million, and it received an Oscar nomination for Best Original Score. And in terms of the plot, it's about the making of Mary Poppins and the conflict that ensued between Walt Disney and the author of the books, P.L. Travers.
Now I want to ask
Some of it's
you.
accurate, some of it isn't. What?
I was just gonna say, how accurate is it?
It's about 50-50, maybe 60-40.
In what way? Or do you want to get into that later?
60, I'd say it's around 50 to 60% accurate.
Yeah, we can dig into the plot. I know the two main changes in this movie is P.L. Travers did this movie is about her signing over the rights, but the rights they had
They
it
already
from,
had
the
the
start.
rights, yeah. And the
obviously
ending.
the ending.
The
Because,
ending is the biggest change.
P.L. Travers hated the Mary Poppins movie. She did not like it at all.
She absolutely hated it.
Yeah, she thought it was awful. She wishes that it was made by a small British independent company. She said if I had the chance to make the movie, that's who I would have picked. So it's kind of funny that you mentioned what happened here production wise, but yeah. I fully understand her point why she would hate this movie.
Well, this
I
is her
love Mary
child. She
Poppins,
wants
but
it a certain way.
I get it. Yeah. So overall, I guess should we talk about the movie?
Sure.
Your thoughts?
That's why we're here.
Yeah. Okay. I did not like this movie. This is actually my second time watching it. First time I saw it, I thought it was okay. This time around, I do not like it at all. That's
I'm
like,
gonna. I know
yeah.
I sided with you, Red, for Mary Poppins, but I'm gonna side with Lugia here. I liked this one. But I fully understand where you're coming from. I do get it, but I still enjoyed it.
Okay.
Even if it does bend the truth a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
First, I'm going to say the positives. Great performances. That
Oh,
is the best
absolutely.
part about this movie. Tom Hanks, perfect fucking casting there. Emma Thompson, great job. Colin Farrell, like those three are the real
Yeah,
show
those
stealers.
three, yeah, three were the show stealers. They were fantastic.
Yeah, BJ Novak was and like Jason Schwartzman, they were cool too. But like,
Hmm.
it was mostly those three.
Hmm.
So I know you haven't seen The Founder, but I feel like that's something very similar. Where that movie is like, it feels like we're getting events that are horrible, but the way the tone is depicting them, it's like it's almost meant like we're supposed to like be cool with it. Because let me explain, like I guess where I'm coming from. So when I first saw it, I obviously hadn't seen Mary Poppins, so it was a completely different perspective than when I watched it now. Because the first time I saw it, I did think it was good. This time around, though, it's like it felt off seeing like she's like fighting on all these changes and things, and I'm like haven't seen the movie now. I was like, I know from the very start that she does not get her way, and that to me just kind of that just becomes depressing to watch because like we're seeing her fight so hard, and I know at the end that she loses in every possible way. So that's just like that was off to me watching this movie. And it felt like tonally the movie expected me to just be cool with that because like it expected me to have already loved Mary Poppins, which I do, but like I love the movie, but I don't love it enough where I'm gonna be just cool with an artist essentially getting jerked off by a corporate executive. It's like I like Disney, I like Mary Poppins, but I don't know. It felt off to me
So then what do
what
you
I was
think the
seeing.
message is? To let go?
Yeah, like I don't know what it was trying to say because like I felt like the writer and the director had different ideas of what they wanted the message to be. That's what it felt like. It felt like there was like a dissonance with what the script was. It felt like they wanted to explore Travers as a character more, but like what happens to Travers, like they want to explore her as like a flawed character, and it's fair. She is a very complicated person, but I still don't think that justifies what happens to her. So I don't know. Like I don't actually want to say the movie's bad. It's just like I didn't like it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Like you, Red, I did see this movie before I watched Mary Poppins all the way through. Like I've seen bits and pieces of it as a kid because my mom showed me. She loves Mary Poppins. So this was my first time watching it after fully seeing Mary Poppins. And knowing the production history of it, I do get certain aspects are not completely accurate, like the ending especially. So I do get the artistic liberties taken, to make it Disney friendly. I do understand the criticisms, but I think overall I was engaged enough.
It's not poorly made. Like
No,
I'm
it's
I'm
not
not I'm,
poorly
I'm
made.
gonna say that.
It's
I don't
not
think
poorly made.
I don't think the direction is particularly stellar, but like great sets, great performances, well edited.
I think the cinematography was a bit off, especially at the beginning, but other than that, it was decently
Yeah, yeah,
shot.
no, I agree. I think like the cinematography is like a little something's just off about it, but great sets. Like it definitely does feel like the '60s.
Hmm.
The score kind of bothered me because the score felt very whimsical, and I feel like that's where the dissonance happens because like it's whimsical, and then I'm seeing like all these like things that I don't really agree with or approve of happening, and I'm like, huh, that just feels weird.
Yeah, I do agree that in the beginning the oddly upbeat score feels out of place, but I will admit, like after like the first 30 minutes, it does dial down on the whimsy, and
Yeah,
it's fine.
yeah, and it fits for some scenes like
Hmm.
when she finally gets into that one song, like part of the movie is like I do like enjoy seeing like a cynical, like the classic story of like a cynical person kind of like getting their heart warmed eventually. Um, but it's just like within the context of corporate politics, that's the thing. Like if it the foundations of the story is fine, it's just because of the context, it just feels wrong. I guess that's how I can describe it. Cause like I don't know, I feel like I've seen stories like this before. I don't know, there's like an episode like The Simpsons or like something where like or Family Guy where like person has to take care of like some old lady for some like community service thing, and then eventually the cynical old lady eventually warms her heart to like that that classic story.
Mhm.
It kind of feels like one of those kind of classic stories. It's just that um the young person and the cynical the person that warms the heart of cynical lady is one of the most powerful moguls business moguls in the history of entertainment, and the cynical old lady isn't a smaller independent artist. So I'm like, okay, that's like the power dynamic feels a little bit like flip there a little bit, but yeah.
Money talks, corporations win in the end.
Yeah, I mean, you can even argue Mary Poppins is kind of that story, because Mary Poppins is like breaks down the sort of more cynical, Banks, Mr. Banks. Yeah. I will say the best part about the movie though is definitely like some of the character study elements. Colin Farrell's just a real show stealer here.
I would agree. I also
Yeah.
did like how certain lines in the Mary Poppins movie were here. Like when she first hears supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, she's like super whatever the infernal word is, which is
Yeah.
a line directly from Mary Poppins. I did like moments like that, and also the scene where it constantly transitions between her childhood and her father giving a speech.
Yeah. That
drunkenly
was my
giving a
favorite
speech,
scene in the
Yeah.
movie.
and like the song lyrics playing over it.
Yeah, that was definitely my favorite part of the movie. I'll say that. Yeah.
The transitions between her childhood and 1961, they didn't always feel smooth, to be honest.
Yeah, I felt the same way, especially at the beginning, when it's like, all right, who are these people? Why are they here? What's their story? How does this connect? And then after a while, about like at the 1 hour mark, it starts to make
Sometimes-
sense.
That's when it
Sometimes
clicks with
there's a
you. It's
cool
like,
transition.
oh, it's childhood.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's a cool transition, like the smoke, like transitioning into like steam from the train, like present day smoke, steam back then. You know what I mean? Sometimes it did that, sometimes it didn't. Wish it did more of that. And so, some of the flashbacks also, I felt like he could have cut because like some of them did not advance anything.
Yeah, I feel like maybe they're just there to like I don't know establish
I guess.
the idea of the flashbacks, but yeah, none of them were not all of them were needed.
Also, one other thing, P.L. Travers snuggling the Mickey doll felt weird.
Yeah, see that's another thing. Like part of this feels like because I know Disney didn't request changes, but part of it still felt like Disney propaganda. I'm like, okay, that's like I don't know, it's a very off thing.
When I saw her shove the Mickey Mouse doll in the closet, the first thing I put down in my notes, literally the first thing was, yeah, fuck you, Mickey Mouse.
I don't
This
know,
is a lot better than the founder. Like I'm just gonna mention the founder. Let me just explain what the founder's about. So the founder's about Ray Kroc, who is basically he did not create McDonald's, but he's basically the guy that made McDonald's what we know it today. And that whole movie is basically about him fucking over the actual people that made McDonald's. But we're told it from like his perspective, so it's almost like it's like we're seeing a story from the villain's perspective, but the movie didn't treat it like he was the villain. I saw the movie after I saw, this for the first time, but, obviously before I saw it, for the second time. I feel like that also kind of colored it because I'm like, this director's already made a movie where, like, it's oddly sympathetic towards the side it shouldn't be sympathetic towards. I'm like, that's like a weird pattern I'm noticing with this director.
So do you think this movie? Do you think you would have liked this movie more if it did something like I Tonya, where it showed both sides?
Maybe, or like The Social Network. I don't know. I think this director wasn't a good choice for the film. The script I think is fine. It's just the direction that's like off. Not an awful movie, but not my. I don't personally, not my personal thing.
I can see where you're
Um,
coming from.
That's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay.
I like it more than like The Disaster Artist. So, if that means anything.
I do get your criticisms, but I still liked it.
Yeah, no, it's not,
It had a
awful.
couple of feel-good moments. I think the overall product was good, even if it isn't entirely accurate.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not groundbreaking in
No,
any way.
definitely not.
It's a pretty standard sort of biopic, but it's fine. It's a tried and true formula.
Actually, funny you mentioned the Disaster Artist, because I actually prefer that over this. Then again, I'm a fan of The Room, so what do you expect from me?
Yeah, that's fair. I feel like this actually does sort of dive more in depth into the production that I find interesting with like Disaster Artist. I'm like, I thought there's a missed opportunity. I still am surprised they didn't have a scene where they were dubbing over the audio, because the dubbing over audio is like so iconic to The Room. But like,
Right.
yeah,
All
I
right,
guess
so moral of this.
overall not a horrible movie, but not my thing.
You got a score?
I gave it like a 4 out of 10, 5 out of 10. One of those two.
All right, so the moral of the story is don't pick movies about the making of movies, because Red will not like them.
Because otherwise, you're gonna talk shit about Disney.
Yeah, I don't know. There's some like good movies about the makings of movies. You were talking about Tim Burton earlier. Ed Wood, his best movie.
Hearts of Darkness. That was good.
Yeah, Dolomite is my name. That's all right. I feel like I like movies about like Disaster Artist is gonna be interesting because I'm gonna definitely recommend Ed Wood later down the line, and but like they're both movies about like artists that are known as bad directors that made bad stuff, but like you know, it's interesting, sort of I've seen a lot of movies about directors that made movies that people consider bad. Like there's at least like 4 I can think of off the top of my head. So like they're all very different films though. So it's an interesting sort of thing.
So for my money, Saving Mr. Banks, I liked it. Again, some artistic liberties here and there, but I think the performances were great. It had a good heart to it. I enjoyed myself.
Same here.
Okay.
This is like a 7 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, 7 is what I gave to it the first time I saw it, so it dropped down a few points, but
Maybe when
I
I watch it
definitely see
again,
why
I'll
it's a
bring
7.
it down to like a 4. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? All right, so I guess it's my turn to recommend this.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, so we have never talked about Studio Ghibli, am I right?
No.
It's a good thing we can only talk about it and not show footage, because otherwise that shit gets taken down hard.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk about what is arguably Ghibli's biggest film, The Tale of Princess Kaguya by Takahata, not
I thought
Miyazaki. The
you were gonna
second
say
guy.
Spirited Away.
No. I'm picking Princess Kaguya because I've never seen it, but also I want to talk about Takahata just because everyone always talks about Miyazaki, but Ghibli's actually like a duo. And I
Right,
think the
yeah.
second guy is just as talented, if not more talented than Miyazaki.
It's just that Miyazaki's has the more well-known works.
Yeah. But I think Takahata has a very good range because he's made, as whimsical stuff as Miyazaki, and he also made, Grave of the Fireflies and also this big, weird, epic. This movie's only 2 hours long, which surprised me because it seems like such a grand story. It's like it'd be bigger, but yeah. But yeah, Tale of Princess Kaguya. Takahata, Studio Ghibli. That's my recommendation.
All right. Cool.
Have you guys
what?
seen any other Studio Ghibli movies? Out of curiosity?
Yes.
Yes.
Just which ones?
You go first, Lugia.
I recently saw or rewatched Kiki's Delivery Service with some friends.
Nice.
I think I've seen Castle in the Sky. I'm gonna pull up the list here because I'm forgetting the names off the top of my head.
Yeah. Some of my friends rewatched Spirited Away actually, like yesterday.
I've never seen it.
Not.
You've never seen Spirited Away?
No.
I'm gonna
Oh,
say Spirited
dude.
Away is definitely my favorites of the one I've seen so far. I've heard very good things about this current movie though, and like I said, I have not actually seen the Tale of Princess Kaguya.
Okay,
but,
Ponyo. That's another one I've seen.
Oh, we've all seen Ponyo. Everyone's
Yeah,
seen Ponyo.
we saw that at a ski trip.
Yeah, Ponyo's like that's the only one I saw. Okay, it's not the only one I saw in theaters, but it was the first one I saw in theaters. The other one I saw in theaters was The Tale of Princess Ariete, and I also saw Princess Mononoke in theaters when AMC was rerunning that, and that's like my second favorite one.
I also saw The Cat Returns, which I remember
Yes.
liking a lot.
I saw that with you actually. Yeah.
And I think that's about it.
Yeah.
Could have sworn I saw a few more.
Whisper of the Heart, Howl's Moving Castle, Totoro. I saw that one.
The Ghibli movies I've seen are Spirited Away, Kiki's Delivery Service, Anyo, Wind Rises, Princess Mononoke. Uh, this one I'm forgetting. Porco Rosso.
Okay, so you've only seen Miyazaki movies. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so this is going to be your first Takahata movie. Interesting. Takahata, the ones from him I've seen was Grave of the Fireflies and My Neighbor the Yamadas. Grave of the Fireflies is a harrowing, very dark war epic, and My Neighbor the Yamadas is basically like the Peanuts movie, where it's like a bunch of very short little comic vignettes about a family. So like, guy's got serious range. Let's say that. Takahata also did Pom Poko with the raccoon one with the big balls. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I think this is Takahata's last film before he unfortunately passed away. So this is sort of his swan song. This is what many people consider like Spirited Away to be Miyazaki's greatest film. This is considered Takahata's greatest film. So you got something to close us out?
Let's go fly a kite.